Kosama wakwaba adeba ayeka TV yɛda mo ase sɛ mohwɛ ayeka TV na mmom yɛbɛkɔ so asrɛ sɛ wonya subscribe wɔ channel yi a bɛ subscribe ama yɛ na like videos no yɛ na wahyɛ no bi so anya bi ahwɛ yɛ news update na yɛde brɛ mo
ɛnɛ yɛkɔ Kenya Supreme Court. I didn't think yɛkɔ Kenya Supreme Court because Oma cited the Supreme Court of Ghana's case, election petition case now, former President John Dramani Mahama at the court Supreme Court to say Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo Electoral Commission ewiama no Oma cite no as a judicial precedent Omo based on that. Omo the judgment beba Monday. Interestingly, Kenya Supreme Court for no month na omo case so and check to say Ghana for the over Ghana for case na the almost 3 months and more. Say me nyame figures writer. But Kenya no see in just a month omo the ruling eba this coming Monday. Yenim the way ruling eba but they were citing Ghana's case as a judicial precedent, and we can't preempt the judgment of the judges. But what is important, and they say, Omo use Ghana's legal system as an example for ruling, and our lawyers need basic some of the arguments in the courtroom as an example, which means that the credibility of Ghana's justice system highly regarded in Africa and across the world, which is in direct contravention with what the NDC for regarding say judicial system and papa na chief justice na free, which are very very harsh words to the judiciary system of Ghana. But you call into the details of this excellent piece of write-up Yensaka regarding the Kenya Supreme Court using Ghana's justice system and legal argument in the election petitioner, former President John Dramani Mahama, court. Once again, Supreme Court of another very respected African country, Kenya, clearly I should say what the NDC for John Dramani Mahama attack on the judiciary from top to bottom say it is not a solid superstructure it's in direct contravention with what Supreme Court of Kenya can, because at the end papa obi nhwe so enfan kope enye djuma ti se ya or the whole country election petition be based on Ghana's election petition and sana waka sedin ruling beba this Monday ruling so ba the bebremo in CMPTV. So but yanko into the statement of Kenya's Supreme Court, the course of court hall. Na yemfambe just pøse the press release of the NDC regarding the National Democratic Congress on certain developments within the Ghana's judiciary. Omo press release on the buy ya bonnet toffer. Now make him a final conclusion. Say Ghana's judiciary, is it as bad? Is it a clear picture? It said they were NDC for and now say it is just a fabrication, a whims of political spinning. Now I disrupted Ghana's judiciary image to push a more political agenda. Yabesa analysis way. Now, first off, Kenya Supreme Court. This article is on Ghana Web, on African News. This one was written yesterday in Drana, 2nd September 2022. Source near the eastafrican.com. Now, interestingly, the trust article we needing amber, but source near from the eastafrican.com. So one person will verify information way. Kenya Supreme Court is expected to deliver its judgment on the presidential petition on Monday next week, following the closure of submissions by all parties yesterday, Friday. Now, Chief Justice Martha Koome said the court would give its verdict on the disputed presidential election after the judges of the court have deliberated on the arguments and evidence presented by all parties in the petition. Speaking at the closure of submissions by all parties on Friday, Ms. Koome, which is a Supreme Court judge, said that the court will give notice to the public ahead of the delivery of the judgment. We will deliver our judgment on Monday 5th. We shall give you notice closure to that day, indicating the exact time that will be done. Ms. Kum said the Friday session was the last day of submissions by all parties in the petition, including Raila Odinga-led Azimio coalition, which is the main petitioner. This is former President John Dramani Mahama, the main petitioner in the 2020 election petition. Now, President-elect William Ruto led the team, as well as the Independent Electoral Commission and Boundaries Commission. During the session, the Azimio team made a rejoinder to the presentations and arguments that had been made earlier by the IEBC and Dr. Ruto's team on Friday. The parties in the petition also made arguments and presentations in the scrutiny report ordered by the court on access to the IEBC servers, as well as the recount of ballot boxes from 15 polling stations. Yen fast forward enko baby a almost cite Ghana's judiciary system no as an example for my case no. Madam Chief Justice, when in making submissions on Thursday, September 1st, 2022, the lead lawyer for the president-elect, Fred Ngatia, cited the case of Ghana's presidential election of 2020 filed by former President John Dramani Mahama. The words inexact, Madam Chief Justice, barely 2 years ago, Ghana was in the same position that this court was in. They held their elections. A presidential candidate went to the Supreme Court. Identical complaints were made, and a complaint number one was ballot stuffing. Apache said, or any illegitimate ballot papers. Yedesha boxes mu ama adding Nipan numbers akosro. That was one of the complaints former President John Dramani Mahama in various constituencies without any evidence, because clearly no man provided any evidence of that in court. Another complaint rejected votes ought to be included in the counting, because accusations be said the number of rejected votes for candidate and as the presidential elect. No evidence was provided for that. Also, third complaint, not fair to the candidate in various ways, because of clashes of certain areas, and also opportunity was given for Omo to provide evidence of this allegation. Now, so it was not substantiated with significant evidence. Anything a ruling by unanimously clear. Say you better the case out of court. And no, and Mr. Fred Ngatia of Kenya's lead lawyer for the presidential elect, or cited Ghana's case in the Supreme Court for the final submission. That should tell you the level of trust and at the level of credibility or what in Ghana's Supreme Court. Because for you as a lead lawyer of the presidential elect, you use a case study from a particular person, and it has to be your strongest point. Because lawyer they all argue final submissions now. The strongest point, you must start with your strongest, build your case with evidences in the middle, punch holes into the counter argument of your colleague lawyer. Now, a final submission there, it will be your strongest point. Or no decide say, or by use Ghana's case as the final submission in the deliberation at the Supreme Court. Interno and yede abremon. Ngati identified that the case before the Chief Justice Martha Koom and her colleague was similar to the case in Ghana and similar cases in other jurisdictions, but or share that nor cited Ghana's case as a typical example. That should tell you the level of trust and credibility. Ain't Supreme Court no nanka omo pese Kenya Supreme Court nso jina pa And yeah, dear Mobabeshe Ghana for Supreme Court, any form of ruling. Because if Ghana's Supreme Court is compromised, then there shouldn't be a good example for a country like Kenya, one of the leading financial technology hub in East Africa. Bullet trains Kurapuana, Dr. Kretiama Ghana no. If Kenya for they have miles ahead. Into democracy and so idea Kenya for embrace a lot.